So these could be major developments in the case of Freddie Gray, according to an autopsy report obtained by the Baltimore Sun. Gray died of a single high-energy injury, and it concludes it likely happened when the police van he was riding in suddenly slowed down. But Dr. Michael Baden, on with Megyn Kelly last night of the Kelly Files, saying that we have to see the entire report before you draw conclusions.
The autopsy has to be fully released so that we're not looking at somebody's spin on it, but also it doesn't stand by itself. Freddie Gray was in the hospital for 7 days. They did a lot of work on him at the hospital. They evaluated him, they did tests on him on the day he came in. 7 days later, when he's deceased, when he's dead, at an autopsy, things have changed a bit.
So where does this leave the story now? Richard Roth, defense attorney, Heather Hansen, trial attorney. Good morning to both of you. Is Dr. Baden right?
He's right about a lot of things. I think that he's right about the fact that we haven't seen the whole autopsy. We should see the whole autopsy. There's been this question from the prosecutor doesn't want this stuff released, and we are entitled to see that that is the routine. I think he's also correct that you need the entire picture. The autopsy, what has been released, which is not official, does tell us some things. It tells us something about the chronology, and it tells us something important, that Freddie Gray was placed on his stomach and that he somehow himself brought himself either to seated position or standing position. That position, according to what we've read, caused the death.
Which is the suggestion in the autopsy report. Richard?
That's correct. The devil's in the details. We don't know as we sit here what exactly the autopsy report says, but if it says that this injury is as a result of the sudden impact, then it may very well be that they didn't buckle a seatbelt. That is not homicide. That is not criminal intent. It may not even be recklessness. So it makes it a very hard case on behalf of the prosecutor.
It does, you think?
Because you don't buckle your seatbelt, you're negligent.
What was the depraved heart? Is that the
depraved
law?
heart murder, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's
okay,
correct.
So he may have been, this is what the report says. He may have been standing and thrown into the wall during an abrupt direction change as he was not belted in but shackled the wrists and ankles. Does that hold up in court? I mean, you as an attorney, could you defend that, or could you prosecute it?
I would rather defend that case because you have to show, essentially, you have to show either an intent, you have to show an intent and an act, and the intent could be recklessness, or it could be gross negligence. But if you fail to buckle your seatbelt, we all know call it stupid, call it negligent. It doesn't rise to the level of criminal misconduct, and the prosecutor is going to have a tough time proving this case because it just doesn't get that high. Not only that, they have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
And it was an African-American police officer driving that police officer.
Absolutely.
Right, and it's the African-American police officer who has that charge. Only one of the officers has that charge against him. The others have different types of manslaughter, whether it's gross negligence or regular negligence. But as Richard said, the important point is that it is a very high standard, and I think it's overcharged, and I would not want to be prosecuting
You think
this
she
case.
overcharged this
I've
case?
thought that from the beginning, and I think that this autopsy, what we've seen, again, it's not the official report, it backs that up.
Here is Marilyn Mosby, age 35, the prosecutor there in Baltimore, back on the 1st of May, and this got a lot of attention too. Watch.
To the youth of this city, I will seek justice on your behalf. This is a moment. This is your moment. Let's ensure that we have peaceful and productive rallies that will develop structural and systemic changes for generations to come.
So some people took that as a political statement, and now she has this interview in Vogue magazine. Is that proper conduct for a high-profile prosecutor that the country's watching right now?
You know, you could argue both sides of the coin. The bottom line is that she will be criticized because she's doing this for press, she's doing this for fame, she's doing this for notoriety, which is negative. However, if in fact she is, which she is now, a national public figure, and in light of her background and her upbringing, she is quite a fascinating person, then her character is something we want to know about. What she has to be careful of is not talking about the case, not talking about what happened with Freddie Gray, and keeping it about her and not the case.
But she does. In that Vogue article, she does talk about the case, and I think it's completely inappropriate.
So let me stop you. Why is she doing that?
I have no idea. I mean, listen, there's the argument to be made that it's for political reasons, that she wants to take the opportunity while she's still a winner, because if she loses this case, there'll be less opportunities, you would think. Listen, she also did an interview for Cosmopolitan magazine, and that interview... Since the 1st of May? That's my understanding,
over the last 2 months?
That's my understanding. In that article, she doesn't talk about the case, so I take less issue with that. But when you start talking about a case that is pending to the entire world, when you don't yet have a jury, it just gives more of an argument towards the argument that's been made that perhaps she should be recused.
Okay, and this has been politicized. It really has been politicized. It's really not about it's not a legal issue. It's become a political issue.
Heather Hansen, thank you. Richard Roth, thanks you as well. We got some breaking news right now. Terrific panel. Thanks.